Welcome, everybody, back to the TBOG podcast. That's the Brotherhood of Gaming podcast. You know, the one, the special one. I'm your host, William Morris.
I am your co-host, Eugene Morris.
So, we have a new funny subject to talk about today. Nothing mainstream, but it's kind of a response, or dare I say, reaction.
Hilarious.
To something that we found out today. So, WatchMojo, you know those guys. They like to make top 10s out of everything and anything. And they pump them out. I'll say that. So yeah, I just conveniently saw an episode that they did called "The Top 10 Worst Video Game Heroes." Fair enough. Now, usually you can kind of imagine some of the characters who'd be on a list like this, and yeah, you'd probably be right. So Bubsy from the really crappy Bubsy cat games that he had. Part of that mascot era where everybody was trying to make mascot characters that rivaled Sonic the Hedgehog and Mario and so on. And probably some other characters, Lester the Unlikely. But then there were some odd choices that you're just kind of like shaking your head at, like, what?
Now, before we begin, we want to say this, just a little disclaimer. We know this is just their opinion, and that's fine.
Yeah,
this is our opinion.
Yeah, we're not hating on them.
No, we're not hating on them.
We are not going to call them...
any WatchMojo fans want to rush to their defense, hang on. We're not hating on them. We watch WatchMojo. We like their content, but just every once in a while, they do some weird ones, make some weird choices, and yeah, so this is our response to it.
And it wouldn't be the first time people have called them out on it.
Right. All
right, so before we get to the big one, the first one I noticed was Raiden.
Oh, this one just this one this was the first one that kind of nudged me in the side, and I love the top comment. Someone said, "Whoever voted for Raiden, F yourself."
I know, right?
And got like 216 thumbs up.
Like, okay, now I'd have believed you on Raiden if Metal Gear Solid 2 was the only thing.
Well, that's like the main response this guy got. Hey, this was only Metal Gear Solid 2 Raiden, no one else. Well, that's the point. They conveniently did not include any of the other. They include 4 or Revengeance because they just basically just focused on 2. Because if they included 4 and Revengeance, then he wouldn't have made.
But it doesn't work though because the character has grown, and
that's the argument they're using. We're only looking at him from this one game.
But he's not
that's the argument, though.
But
you're right. That's why he doesn't fit. Because all the other characters, you say, okay, throughout their series, they pretty much remain the same. Raiden, there was a huge evolution in his character.
Yeah.
The way he was in 2 and the way he is in Revengeance are completely different.
Yeah, like they said he lacked divine leadership skills and he was very, indecisive. About,
I guess he was in the second one.
In the second one, he really was. Like,
right.
Yeah, he definitely was no Solid Snake.
Right.
And maybe that's the point that Kojima was going for. But yeah, as the series went on, when he showed up again in Metal Gear Solid 4 after the Patriots did whatever the hell they did to him, he was far more badass. Still kind of inexperienced because even though he was badass, he still kind of got defeated in a couple fights.
Right.
And then when Metal Gear Rising came out, oh boy, did that change the game. Now suddenly Raiden went from this, and it started with Metal Gear Solid 4 where people were accepting Raiden. But then when Metal Gear Rising hit the scene, Raiden suddenly went from that character that everybody hated to now everybody loves this character. And some would argue love him now more than Solid Snake because of how badass he got. And it was a total 360.
And it's really which makes the situation with Konami even sadder because we're probably not going to see that Raiden never again. At least not outside of a pachinko machine or something.
Yeah, no, but it was still really amazing, and of course the soundtrack was unbelievable. Rules of Nature. It was awesome.
So that's the problem with including him on this list, because you're right. They're just looking at this one particular point at the series, but completely ignoring the other games, and I guess that's what they're going for. I guess you can make the argument that that's what they were trying to do, but it just kind of sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah, so it's like why are you picking and choosing like where the beginning and the end is for a character that you're gonna add on a list like this? Because I no after especially after the events that happened, like nobody would suggest Raiden be anywhere near a list like this.
Right.
Like if it had been him and only him for what he had done in Metal Gear Solid 2, it'd still kind of be arguable because he still came out on top.
I think that's the majority of the dislikes came because of that. That's just my own opinion. The fact that, like, hey, wait a minute.
But it got worse.
Before we go on to that, there were some others that also kind of stuck in my craw a little bit.
Oh yeah.
The other choice was Vincent from Catherine. The reason I disagree with that is because Catherine is a game in which the character Vincent, you make all they're a reflection of the player's choices in different situations. So he's just reflecting what you would make as as what choices that you would make as the player. Because there's like 12 like 8 different endings, and they're all affected by the choices that you make. So it's not so much him; it's just the choices that the player behind the controller makes. That's what's driving the story, and that's what's making the outcome.
But all in all, doesn't he still ultimately sleep with Catherine?
Catherine.
Well, I say Catherine, like Catherine, like I say Catherine, the real
Catherine
one.
with a K.
Yeah,
Catherine with a C.
I say Catherine to suggest the evil one.
Right.
Doesn't he still ultimately sleep with her no matter what choice you make?
Here's the thing. Ultimately, but well, I only played Catherine once, and I got the ending that I wanted to.
The ending you would hope for.
I believe that at least in the one that at least the one that I remember, Catherine was just a figment of his imagination. So he thought he cheated on her, but
He was masturbating?
not like that, but it was like, okay, she was a succubus, and it was being controlled by the bartender, but the girl was not real. It's just something that he thought was happening in his mind. So I guess it depends on your own decision. Did he sleep with her, or did he cheat with her? I don't think he did. I don't think he did in real life. He just thought he did in his mind, and that's what drove apart him from Catherine. And once he got that figured out, then he knew what he wanted. He wanted to get Catherine.
So the bartender was just being an ass?
The bartender was the guy who was behind.
Yeah, I know he was behind the whole thing, but
he was some sort of demon or something.
Like, what's his motive?
You're asking me to get a lot of specifics.
Yeah,
here,
who
and
cares?
I can't.
Not important.
Yeah. So Vincent also to me is kind of a guy that he also represents a lot of middle-aged, or not middle-aged, but guys who reach that point in their lives where they become afraid of commitment because they're afraid of losing what they have or having to give up what they have, which I think is something that a lot of guys, when you reach that certain age, is something that we can relate to. So I don't think he was, I just think he's as bad or as good as you make him out to be. Yeah, the players are the ones that's driving the choices in this game. That's my defense of it.
Okay.
Take it or leave it.
So Vincent, you don't think he belongs on here? Fine,
I
fair
don't
enough.
think so. Okay.
Any other characters?
Well, a couple others I wanted to mention. I did one I did kind of agree with. That I think we both agreed with was DMC Dante.
Yeah, DMC Dante. Yeah, he deserved to be on this list for all the right reasons.
Which really does go without saying. I have tried to be nice to him.
I've tried,
but he just, I think what they said explains it best. Is that everything with DMC Dante was forced.
Yeah, nobody asked for it. Nobody wanted it. It's not like he doesn't try to do the right thing by the end, but
he just has one too many douchebag moments after another.
Pretty much.
That wet chunks joke.
I don't even remember that one. How did that one go?
It's when he's trying to infuriate Mundus,
Oh,
blowing up your babies or say your splatter
into
into
like
wet
little
chunks.
wet chunks. Oh yeah,
Priceless.
I remember
You
that.
know. Now I'm not saying that a real Dante, especially young Devil May Cry 3 Dante, he had some, douchey moments too.
He did it with style.
But he did it with more style, right? He was more, you know, like he was kind of like he did kind of act like a jerk every once in a
Well,
while.
he did
but
it
you
in
know
good.
he
I guess
had
you
a
could say
good-
he did it in good nature, though.
Right. He did have a good. He still had a good heart, a good soul with him. This guy reboot. It just seems like the creators of Ninja Theory thinks a cool character is someone who acts like an a-hole, just for the sake of acting like an a-hole, and it just didn't work. It just kind of felt like a poser to me, like someone was just trying so hard to be cool and edgy
And hip.
I
Hip,
play
hip,
by my
hip
own
for the
rules.
kids.
Yeah, it's
He-
for the kids.
He's the new Chuck E. Cheese.
I'm sleeping with all these girls and stuff.
He's
It's like,
edgy.
The game itself as a hack and slash game is fine. It's just a shame that the main protagonist is just so damn unlikable, in our opinion.
Yeah, it got.
Bubsy the cat.
Oh,
obviously.
I thought it was really funny how Bubsy's actor even made a joke in Bubsy's voice. Is like, how did he say it? Like, Bubsy the Bobcat. The only thing good about that was the check cleared.
The same voice actor who did Roger Rabbit.
Yeah, the only thing good about Bubsy the Bobcat's cartoon is that I got the check.
After all that, I thought the number one choice was kind of lackluster. This fat cat from a Sonic Adventure game.
Big
I
the
never heard of.
cat. Yeah, Big.
Well, I'm not as deep in the Sonic lore because I'm not really that familiar with this character. So
Like, okay, Big the cat is, I guess you could say, he has got some fans for
Okay.
interesting reasons. And what it kind of boiled down to was it was that upsetting trope where if you've got like a fat character, they kind of have to treat that character like a dopey, like heavy voiced.
yeah, I kind of was noticing that when I was
Like,
watching the video.
Froggy, where are you? Like, they got to treat.
What's
him-
your name? I will love him and hug him.
I know.
And call him George.
I will like he picks up Froggy. I will love him and pet him and call him George. He's my Froggy. Like they have to treat the fat guys with so much disrespect that it became such a pain in the ass that he literally had a story in the first Sonic Adventure that was just as long as all the other characters. Nobody had heard that was his entry in the Sonic series. Like nobody had seen this character before. Sonic Adventure 1 for the Sega Dreamcast was the first time we ever got to see Big the Cat, and the moment we saw him, we unlocked his character and we were plagued to have to play as him and his entire story. You had to play as all the stories because if you wanted to see the ending and play as Super Sonic, you had to play as all the stories because they were all
So they were dragging you through the nose by the nose in order to get it done. Right?
Yeah, and his levels just sucked because all it was the entire time was you having as Big the Cat, you have to find Froggy, who at the point in time is possessed by chaos. Now, how you do this is you go through each and every stage that all the other characters would go through, and you have to search the entire level, find a watering hole that Froggy might be in, and then you have to get your fishing line and start fishing for Froggy, and that creates a whole nother mini game because now you're all of a sudden playing a mini game where you're trying to fish for Froggy, and he may or may not bite the line, he may or may not let go of the line once he bites, and you could potentially be there for a lot longer than you really want to. with a character that comes off as really dumb, even though technically he's not ish. He's slow. I guess you could say he's kind of like the sloths from that new Disney
Zootopia movie.
Yeah, Zootopia, where like he just comes off really slow and unenthusiastic.
Right.
And
Exactly what you need in a Sonic game.
I know, like,
they're trying to be
the
ironic.
exact opposite for what you want in a Sonic game.
Because they were trying to be ironic or something.
I don't know what they were thinking with Big the Cat, but nobody was on board. Everybody hated him. And when Sonic Adventure 2 came out, he was no longer a playable character, but now he was just relegated to being Easter eggs that would just show up in levels at certain intervals if you happen to see him.
He's the Jar Jar Binks of the Sonic universe.
In a way, yeah, to the point that they kind of discontinued his character for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
His last appearance was in, I think, one of the Sega All-Star Racing games.
Okay.
But as far as story-wise go, I think they discontinued his character. I can't confirm this, but as far as I heard, I think that was the case. Um, like, and people were saying, like, if you had given Big the Cat, the character, a more like solid voice, like give him a regular voice, like Froggy, where are you? Like, just because you're a big guy doesn't mean you have to be a dopey Froggy, where are you? Like,
They went for the stereotype.
yeah, they went for the trope, and that unfortunately really hurt the character. And a lot of people openly admitted if he had a better voice, that probably would have made people like him a little more, because now he wasn't falling into that trope.
Yeah, that's what kind of killed it, I guess.
Yeah, and like people just didn't want to hear him anymore. And like in Sonic Heroes, when they brought him back as a playable character, at least he was teamed up with Amy. Whatever.
Yeah. Now, time for the big one.
Now the big one. Okay, now this is the reason why we made this video in the first place, guys. Now, you guys know us as the Tales guys, like as far for the RPG series and the Tales of series, or you probably know us for a lot of things. Shoot, we do a lot of things.
It seems to me like nowadays we're just playing defense with the Tales series.
I know, right?
Whether it's Zestiria, criticism,
yeah, people hating on Tales of Zestiria for ludicrous
Game
reasons.
Informer,
Game Informer being a complete
game trailers.
like it's so weird how the Tales series, like, people love the Tales series, they love it, but I think it's because some of them love it so much that they are gonna like put flaws on every single little thing if it's not like one of their favorites.
Okay, but this one, now watch Mojo.
Okay, so bear in mind he didn't quite make the list, but here's the thing. It was so close to number one, but just missed it and made the dishonorable mentions. Luke Fonfabra from Tales of the Abyss made the dishonorable mentions as almost number one worst video game hero character. And when I first saw that, I was kind of like dumbfounded, like, what? Wow, I definitely didn't see that coming. Like, I'd have loved to have heard an explanation for this. Like, I kind of wish Luke
he was in the list.
I know. I kind of wish Luke did make the list or was number one, just so that I could hear their reasoning behind it. Like,
okay.
Like,
I need to think for a minute.
Yeah, and when I told you about it, it was good. It was good. So I was just like, "Hey, Gene, did you know WatchMojo, right? Yeah, they did a video, top 10 worst video game heroes list. Guess who made the list, or guess who almost made the list but was in it? Yeah, Luke Fonfabra from Tales of the Abyss, one of the most popular Tales games out there. Isn't that amazing?"
Okay. Tales of the Abyss is my third favorite Tales game, and Luke Fonfabra is my third favorite Tales character. Okay. In the beginning of the story, he's this obnoxious prince. He's completely unlikable. Yes. Completely unlikable. That's the point.
Yeah, he's a teenage royalty, gives no crap about anything, thinks
Snob.
he's this snob.
Only cares about Master Van.
Pretty much.
know? Yeah. He's got this hard on for Master Van.
Pretty much. He's got a hard on for his master, his teacher, his coach.
Yeah. Van uses him to, destroy a city that end up killing hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Even though Van was the driving force behind it, Luke was still the one that did it. So everyone turned on him.
Yeah, and for good reason, because they knew that his coach was no good. And they said, like, we know you love your coach. We know he's a great guy in your eyes, but he does some really shady stuff, and we're not even sure about him. And honestly, we're telling you right now to stay away from him, because we don't think he's doing the right thing. In fact, we're pretty sure he might be up to some really bad stuff. So please, Luke, listen to us. Don't listen to your coach, and just stay behind.
Right.
And immediately, as soon as the party leaves or something, he runs into his coach, and his coach is playing he's playing the nice card, and he talks Luke into using his hyperresonance ability to what, as far as Luke knows, which will help people, and it ends up doing the exact opposite. It sinks an entire city full of thousands of people into a sea of miasma, ultimately killing all of them. And of course, Van had like Coach Van, he had Master Van. He had his reasons for doing this, but yeah. And then Luke was just completely dumbfounded. Like, why would my teacher do this? Like, why would he betray me? Why would he have me like use my power for evil or do things that would kill people? I don't understand. And then immediately his party members are just like, you idiot, you fool, you tool.
Yeah. The only ones that didn't abandon him were, well, Mew.
Oh yeah,
Had
Mew.
this, and finally Luke begins to accept Mew, who had been treating like crap like the whole way through,
And even after, he still kind of treated him like crap a little.
but at least he was starting to open up and be nicer to him a little bit we'll get to that, but he then after that he then has a meeting with Ash and then learns the truth about himself.
Yeah,
That he's not
complete. He's a piece of him.
he's a replica. He's basically a clone. That's basically what it is. And so he's lost everything.
Yeah, his entire world was just shattered.
Right.
His coach that he had admired since he was a child. Hold on.
Betrayed him.
Yeah, and had betrayed him and talked him into killing thousands of people. So he's got to live with the fact that he literally caused thousands of deaths. And I think what even kind of hit the nail on the head a little more is like he was actively watching one of the kids, like with his father, dying in front of him,
Right.
and he couldn't do anything about it.
So sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then of course all of his friends kind of bailed on him, or like you can make the argument that they were all just like really pissed at him.
Yeah.
Like,
Though all the party members leave him, he finds out he's not a real prince, so everything he has is gone. Like the only person that stays with him is Tyr, but only by default.
I know she doesn't willingly kind of stay with him. She's just kind of there. Like she's
Yeah. Luke finally accepts that he was the one that did it, and he basically makes a deal with Tyr to please help me try to correct this. And Tyr's like, okay, I'll go with you, but I'm not gonna cut you any slack. I'm gonna be very hard on you, you know. And throughout the journey, Guy came back, and so that was the one freebie he got, that his one good friend, after he got pissed off, waited there for him to come back. So he got that.
yeah.
But
So
the other party members, though, he had to earn their trust again, and you saw him go through this journey.
yeah. So I did like Guy a little more in that regard, that because even though Ash,
Guy is kind of the Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of in this
Sort of.
game, where he's kind of the wiser, kind of older, a bunkular figure that Luke can kind of lean on after Van ditches him.
yeah, but it was interesting because like even though Ash kind of parades around claiming that he's the real Luke, even though he's technically not complete either, like Guy knew that Luke, the one, the current one, was the one that he did grow up with.
The replica.
Yeah, the replica is the one that he grew up with. So all of the memories that he has to that point are still the correct ones, even if the replica was a fake. Like,
Of all the characters that Johnny Young Bosch has voiced in the Tales series, we kind of have we really kind of sour on him on his other roles. But to me, he'll always be Guy. To me, that was his best performance in the Tales series.
yeah, honestly, I didn't. Oh wait, no, that wasn't him. I almost confused him for another character for a moment, but yeah, I do think that Guy was definitely one of his best performances. Like he was okay as Kless, but then again, Kless is like arguably not that interesting of a character.
He's very straight laced. Very
Yeah,
don't
he's not a
do
bad
right.
character by any
No.
means. He's just not that interesting.
Right. Then you see a character who acts like a jackass, gets everything taken from him. A lot of it's his own fault.
Hit rock
Yes.
bottom.
And one of the greatest stories, and I heard this too in in a wrestling documentary. One of the best stories that everyone loves. They love to hate the villain, and they love to see him fall. But the only thing they love more than that is redemption. Is to see a guy who was a bad guy turn himself around and become a good guy and try to do good.
Yeah.
And you see him, and it's not easy at all. You see him fail a lot, you see him stumble a lot, but you see him slowly go through, earn go do everything he can to try to save the world and earn the trust of his friends, come to grips with what he is. And you see, it's a very emotional journey as you go because you're going through it with him. You go from a character that you despised, and then you see all this crap happen to him. You sympathize with him, and then now you want to see him do good. You want to see him, become the hero.
Because at the very least, you have been living with this character up until this point. He has been your entire. He's the dumbass that everybody had to explain everything to because he's lived such a sheltered life in the life of royalty. And after you see everything that he's lost, you understand how devastating this can be to this character, because he's known nothing. He came out of this world, he came out of that manor knowing nothing, learning quite a few things, and then ultimately breaking everything around him. So it's pretty much to the point where you'd swear this character was contemplating suicide.
Mm-hmm. Well, he starts doing that. I know we're kind of letting off a lot, but hey, what the hell, man? I want to. He does start feeling that way towards the beginning of the third act, when he starts seeing himself. I'm just a replica. I'm not important. Replicas aren't meant for this world anyway.
Or at least that's what he's constantly being fed by all the villains who were just kind of.
And that's really pisses Tyr off. To let him know, like, hey, if you're gonna start thinking like that, then I don't want to be around you. So, and you're right. You're absolutely right. He's someone who starts to the third act of that story really is him trying to understand or try to find meaning in his existence. Is this all that I am? Is there nothing more? Do I even belong in this world?
And ultimately, he finds out no.
It's a real heavy stuff when you get into it.
Yeah, ultimately he finds out no, that he doesn't really belong in this world, but then again, neither does Ash. Mm-hmm. Instead, the original Luke needs to come back. So, by the end of the story, spoiler, Luke defeats his coach, Master Van. They use the hyper-resonance to seal him away and stop Ragnarok, or whatever the hell end of the world destruction was going on. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately, oh my god, what was the god's name of that world?
Oh shoot, I forgot.
There's so many different gods in the Tales series. You kind of I was about to say Yu Yevon, but I'm like, no, it's not Yu Yevon. That's Final Fantasy X.
Surya. Yulia.
Yulia. There we go.
Thank you.
Yeah,
oh man, we didn't get that. A lot of Tales fans
would have been on our ass. Like that would have been horrible. And so yeah, Yulia, or what we think is Yulia, comes forth and pretty much says that Luke is at the end of his journey, as Luke is holding Ash's dead, destroyed body. And this is where people had speculated on what was going on in the ending, because it still wasn't too clear. However, speculation, and at least as far as you and I agree, is that Yulia takes the split personalities of both Luke, the replica, and Ash, the supposed original, although one would argue he's missing some screws. And Yulia reverts them back into the original form of Luke that was the 7-year-old kid, now adult, that was separated at that young age by that machine that I think Jade had a part of.
That's how I always viewed it, that in the end, he was fused back into the original Luke.
Yeah.
The way it was before.
Yeah, that he was when he was 7 years old, but now he's adult now.
Right. So that's always been my...
he's complete Luke.
Theory is that, yes, he's complete now. At the end, both Ash and Luke die, and then they're reborn as the original Luke von Fabre. Because the original, when you see him at the end, I think that's his complete form, because he kind of looks both like Luke and Ash.
Yeah, you never see his eyes.
Right.
But and it's always been up for interpretation. Like, okay, so whose personality is the one that got adopted? Is it still Luke in there, but now he's the completed form of Ash? Or is it Ash, but now with a little bit of Luke's kindness personality inside of him? Mm-hmm. Or is it a completely different person entirely, just made up of everything that both Ash and Luke used to be, and complete with the memories that they both have?
Right. That's how I see it.
We don't know. Although I'd like to believe he keeps all the memories. So yeah, He made the top. He made the dishonorable mentions on WatchMojo's like worst characters ever, which was just really weird to me. Because I'll admit, like,
Did you finish the game?
because I'll admit, like, I really like Tales of the Abyss. It's got problems. It's a little too long in my opinion. I think the graphics aren't that good. Story wise, I think it's padded. But for what it is, it's still a really well written story. It still has really well written, likable characters. It's got a really cool plot going on. And when it hits hard in the serious Mojo parts, it really gut wrenches and hits you hard.
Right.
But yeah, and I really like Luke as a character because he was hilariously bad at the beginning, just because of how oblivious he was to the world around him and how he just thought everything was about him, like me. And
yes.
he
wasn't a likable jerk at first, but then he falls.
Then
and
he
the
quickly
whole story is his redemption. So yeah.
So yeah, he is a likable character to me. He's not my favorite character, but he's definitely one of them.
Right.
Because there's a lot to like about this character. Like, I love redeemable characters and like character development that way. Because like, and this is where people kind of wondered or said like they were surprised that I didn't say Lloyd wasn't in this list. Now, it's a misconception. I don't like Lloyd Irving.
Yeah.
But it's not because of the reasons you might think. It's because I don't doubt that Lloyd is a good hero. I don't doubt that. Yeah, I don't think he should have been on this. Like, I never questioned his heart being in the right place. My problem is that he was such a bland character that went through nothing, obtained nothing, and gained pretty much nothing.
He was pretty much the same as at the end.
He went through and changed nothing throughout the remainder of the entire story that he was in. And like, it's not that he didn't help. I mean, sure, he helped when times got rough, but he's kind of the main character. He has to. But he didn't outside of that, he really didn't add anything in terms of development. He was just generic, a shonen, a bland boy character that was very common in a lot of animes, and there's really nothing special about this character, and that's what
hate mail, let it rain.
And that's what bugged me and still bugs me on why people love this character so much and why Namco has treated like he's the best thing that ever happened to the series, and he's not. Like, I don't doubt that his heart is in the right place and he can be a good hero, but as far as character goes, he's not that likable to me. If you like him, that's fine. I'm not saying you're a bad person for liking Lloyd. I'm not saying he's a terribly written character. He's definitely not the best. But that's how I am with the Tales series. I've played all of them. I've been around the block when it comes to RPGs. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure you have valid reasons to support your claims too. That's just how it is. I don't hate Lloyd as much as I guess you could say I just hate the people who obsess over him.
Oh, boy.
But yeah, I guess you could say I don't care for Lloyd too much as a character. He's just not that good. I'm sorry.
Hate mail, let it rain.
Hate mail, let it rain. I feed on your hatred.
But anyway, again, that's just our opinion, our 2 cents on the matter. And when Will said that Luke von Fabre was in there, I was like, really? Did they finish the game? I just felt like this need to get up here and just talk.
I really wish he did make the list instead of just the dishonorable mentions, because I would have loved to have heard an explanation as to why they put him in there. Like, well, is it because of how he is as a character in the story? Is it because of what he was? Or is it because he was a bad character to them? Like, if anything, it could have been a misunderstanding that way, because like when Lester the Unlikely was put in the list, like, oh yeah, you could definitely vouch for why he's there. He's not a durable character. He's a complete puss. And you kind of wonder, like, is that the reason why Luke was there? Is because he was almost not a hero at all, as much as he was just a protagonist that you had to follow?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really kind of what I wanted to know and wish I had gotten an explanation for.
Interesting. Oh well.
Yeah.
So, Will.
Yeah.
When's Tomb Raider Chronicles coming out?
Well, it's in my PlayStation.
Good.
That is all I can tell you.
Well, thanks for discussing with me, Bill. This is an interesting topic.
Yeah, so thank you guys for enjoying another session of the Brotherhood of Gaming podcast. Be sure to subscribe and give us all the loves. And we will definitely see you next time.